Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today, sharing this panel with a great lineup here, and you're going to hear from them very soon. But before, let me introduce myself. My name is Andrea Marino. I'm Senior Vice President for Schneider Electric. And I'm super excited to be here because that's also an exciting moment for the industrial automation and just the industrial market in general in the US, right? We are seeing this industrial renaissance together with many other exciting things. And there's a lot of new technologies coming, but also challenges in the workforce and how we remain competitive. So we put this title like Innovate to Dominate because we really mean it, right? The ones adopting and innovating are the ones that are going to stay here for the long run. The ones that are not doing that probably will suffer in the competitive environment that we are operating in. So I will first start with Sreedhar, and then we go for a round of introductions before we start our panel today. Sreedhar.
Thank you, Andre. First of all, very happy to be here. So my name is Sreedhar Sista. I'm the VP of AI at Schneider Electric. So in my role, I'm responsible for getting AI into essentially everything that we do, because AI is really the engine that's going to drive, the automation productivity forward, and it is going to be the one that's going to make a huge difference, to the manufacturing world. We have seen everything that happens in, with ChatGPT, in day-to-day life. But I think there is a larger potential, in the industrial world. So I'm super excited about the value that it can bring, and also talk, with this esteemed panel here. So,
Daniel.
Thank you, Andre. My name is Daniel Haar. I'm the CEO of Delta Systems and Automation. I've been in the industry or certain aspects of it for over 20 years. The last 12 being at Delta Systems, holding various roles, supply chain, operations, customer care, general manager for a number of years before I became the CEO. So Delta Systems is located in Northwest Arkansas, very beautiful area with a lot of big companies. And what we do is we supply automated flow wrapping systems primarily to the food industry. About 80% of what we do is with food. So that's flow wrap, so it's pretty much baked goods, protein bars, nutrition bars, fully automated. So it's from simple conveying to very complex solutions with robotics and distribution and handling to do that primary wrapping piece that you get and you try to open up to try to enjoy that snack or whatever you're working with. So we've been around for about 30 years, and something that we're seeing and going through with our customers and ourselves in manufacturing is really labor force wise. For them, it's trying to find the labor. A lot of these factories with automated systems run 24/7 for days and days and weeks on end, stopping for maintenance or sanitation cycles. So the challenge with staffing that, when they overcome it, becomes a challenge we collaborate with them on how do you onboard, how do you train, how do you get higher automation that is easier to operate for the workforce coming in? So those are some of the things we'll talk about today.
Thanks, Daniel. Balaji here. I lead our discrete manufacturing industry team in Microsoft. Microsoft's mission is to empower every organization and person to achieve more. We collaborate with partners like Schneider Electric in helping our manufacturing organizations achieve more. How do we do that? We focus on 4 pillars. First is the core operating systems. Second is what we call data and performance management. Third, which I think is one of the most important pillars, people and culture. And last, sort of security, OT security, IT security, and technology. And through all the 4 pillars, we work with partners to deliver what is best for our manufacturing customers to help them innovate to dominate their sector. Look forward to the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Balaji. Well, Daniel, I think I will start with you because you mentioned that you were 30 years, or Delta exists for 30 years, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned about the workforce. And coming here, preparing to share some insightful things, I just read in the Bureau of Labor Statistics that we have 500,000 manufacturing jobs open today, right, waiting for people. And there's an estimation that we'll have about 2 to 2.5 million jobs by 2030. And so that poses a significant challenge if we want to industrialize America again. So I want to hear from you because you touch a bit on this. How do you see the workforce challenge, how you deal inside your own company, and how you see your customers dealing with this, and maybe the connection with the automation?
Yeah, excellent point. I think I'll start with our customers. I spoke about what some of those factories face in running. One step is they're moving towards automation and a heavy push towards automation since the pandemic, and seeing who was essential, who wasn't, and how does that workforce come back to you. Part of it is that, that maybe the workforce is shrinking and the available labor isn't there. So getting into automation is creating fewer jobs for the mundane, repetitive tasks. So we're trying to make a safer and a better position for people to be employed in. But I spoke to how our part in that to help our customers is that they are having to onboard, they are having to train. It is becoming more complex work. It may be intimidating to an existing workforce. It may be natural to a workforce coming in, but they don't know machines and equipment. So some of the things we've done is you can get a manual, right? You have your car or your fridge, and no one's ever read that manual because it's a monster, and how do you find it? So we put the manuals on the machine in the HMI, but we break it down to have 1-point lessons. So for the tasks that maybe you repeat to do to get the best out of the machine, you can do a 1-point lesson to see what you need, what are the activities, how long should it take. We try to back that up with videos. Some people are video learners, so especially the new workforce, they know how to operate everything. They watch videos all day long. So we put that up there because some people are visual and learn that way. And then back it up with the SOP from the manual if the technical people that dive right in, or the higher caliber, really get into using that. So from the customer standpoint, we're trying to help them solve and overcome that portion of the challenge for workforce. The second piece, and what we're focusing internally in our company, is if you have the workforce and you have the work, it's changing and it's transforming. The pillars of manufacturing have been there for, I say, forever. You've always had safety and quality and your productivity. In recent years, it's been transitioning from buzzwords of like renewability, your carbon footprint and your efficiencies and energy, to becoming actual targets and goals that companies are working on. So we try to assist in that way with the systems we're putting out. And even internally, everything we used to do on paper, from our HR systems, now we track and record labor and hours, to even how we design equipment and automating portions of that work to make it more efficient and more correct and remove the risk. So we're trying to attack it both downstream from them and upstream from us. And we look to our partners on what they're doing that delivers to us to help us get further with that.
Very good. I think there's a lot of challenges in itself there, right? And there's this notion of automation replacing people and the fear. I think we will address that because I think it's something insightful how you're making the technology easy to use and not something scary, right? But I want to go to Balaji first in another aspect, which is we have a generational challenge, right? Because I don't know, Balaji, my kids, I don't see them like me, like really looking forward to working in the manufacturing side. And in the US specifically, we'll have in 9 years, now 8 years, more people that are 18 years younger, right? Less people, sorry, than 65 older. So there's a challenge here to address. So Balaji, I want to hear from you that you're at Microsoft. How do you see technology helping to attract people? The younger generation, I mean.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, one of the cornerstones of manufacturing is do more with less. But you are going to have a situation where there are people who are coming into the workforce who are used to mobile, who are used to technologies, who are used to cool UI, UX, who have slightly shorter attention span, if I may call it. And then if you're going to put them in a shop floor and make them walk half a mile to understand what is the problem in a machine, they're just going to say, hey, I don't want to do this. They want more visual. They want more collaboration. They want more engagement. They want to upskill. They want to go up the decision-making ladder. So the old days of putting a whiteboard with PID diagrams and putting sensors and telling the operator to look at that board and decide will be replaced by a digital twin where there's 3D visualization. We can argue, hey, do I really need 3D visualization? Why can't I just show the board? The workforce will demand it. And the classic thing is it might be a slightly higher investment today, but as we see the place where our customers are moving, the place where our partners are moving, it is to make it more easier for the workforce to collaborate, to learn, to decide, and through that, do more with less. And it's going to be a fun journey. It's not going to be like a toggle of a switch. As HMI, human-machine interaction become a big thing, I believe sort of the human technology interaction will be a big thing, even in shop floor in the near future.
Yeah, well, I can definitely see it because I see my kids now, they're using AI to do research and do their own homework, which is kind of like, sometimes it's like, are you really doing it? But it's just so natural for them. And I think they have this expectation when they start to work that the systems in the industrial side will be the same, right? So I think it's super important to make it easy to use and also attractive for the young generation. So that's one topic to innovate on the workforce. But there's the technology piece. So probably if you go around here, every single corner, we talk about AI, right? And we talk about data, we talk about new technologies. But I want, Sreedhar, if you can help us to translate that into real world problems being solved with a very pragmatic examples, and then we can have a debate around that. What do you think, Sreedhar?
Absolutely. First, getting back to your point on your kids using ChatGPT, Andrea, you should be happy to know that their ChatGPT is offering free subscription, free plus subscription to all the students through May, it seems, because my kids told me that they have a free subscription. They're going to be using it for their finals. So I hope it's a really productivity booster. But coming back to your question on how we are applying the technology, digital technologies into this. So first of all, if you take a macro view, it was 2011, I think, that Mark Andreessen, of Netscape, and now the Andreessen Horowitz said that software is eating the world. And now AI is eating software. Everything is going to be done by AI. But I think there is also a pragmatic thing that to consider when you take a step back and look at specific examples. And today I'd like to talk about 3 examples. So one, on the predictive maintenance side. So this is one of the the cornerstones of applying AI into manufacturing, because everyone knows there are machines, they are running, there are sensors, there is data coming, and you have alarms and everything. But what is really hard is, among all this data that comes in, how do you know when things are going to fail? What are the early signals? Because a lot of this data is really hard to decipher by humans. You can see the charts, you can see time series. So this is where the AI techniques about anomaly detection. So we have techniques to apply, for example, in really harsh environments like electro-submersible pumps, where it's very difficult to actually for someone to go and detect it. AI algorithm can detect everything that happens from vibrations and even to the current drawn to voltage, and be able to predict things that can happen. And this is of immense value because ultimately this is going to reduce downtime, and this is going to improve the overall productivity. The second one that I like to focus on is on quality and inspection. This is another great application of AI techniques. And by the way, this is not all generative AI. These are what we, people in the field called as good old-fashioned AI. It's still very useful. It runs. It does the job. Not everything has to be generative. So in this case, what we do is you can take very few pictures of things that are anomalous, that are not working very well, and be able to detect at extremely high speed, and not only detect that this is a defect, but actually take action. So this is where both the AI combined with the automation, saying that I can detect a defect, I can push it to the side, or I can record it, so we can do some kind of a root cause analysis. So this is an extremely important use case, and today is one of the biggest driver for productivity. Mm-hmm. The third one that I wanted to talk about, I said not everything is generative AI, but the third one is generative AI. So you all know that writing PLC code is kind of hard. It takes a lot of training and practice to do that. So what generative AI can do is to help assist engineers in writing the code, and a lot of the code is going to be boilerplate. Everyone in the software world knows they can write Python, they can write Java programs using AI, but now we can bring that to PLC code generation. And it's not plain vanilla, it is something that is based on proven libraries. And you can not only use it to generate code, you can use it to have explain the code. If there is old code, the tool can explain it to you. You can generate documentation, you can write test cases. I mean, these are all the things that are going to dramatically improve the productivity of creating automations using this one. And by the way, this is on display at a Schneider booth, so you can stop by after this session to take a look at that. Three applications, three different domains, all using AI and technology for manufacturing.
Yeah, impressive. I think it's important that's not just hype, it's getting to the real world. And I think it's where we are going to see a lot of benefits. There's someone telling me that very soon we'll have a process engineer just describing what he wants to build, and the AI will generate the code. And I think you can see pieces of that. It's really unbelievable, right? The point we are getting. And also the fact that now you can almost talk to the AI, because AI is reasoning. It's not anymore just simple tasks like consulting a database and generating something. It can solve the problem in itself. So it's quite amazing. Daniel, we were chatting just before coming here, and you were using some examples of digital twin and how you're getting all these new technologies and using the day-to-day as a manufacturer and also as a supplier to your customers. So can you illustrate some of these cases?
Yeah, for sure. We're not quite to the AI stage yet, but as I spoke to, we're trying to get into automating our own practices and our own workflow that we're working on. So we're currently automating mechanical design to a certain level, because we do provide custom solutions, but where we can get the efficiency, we've automated it. We've automated the electrical design so that we have that foundation of the libraries and standards that you've talked about. We're looking forward to, with Copilot or whichever route we can, to start getting into the AI side of that design. But what we have done and executed very well is using digital twin. We're on the front end of it, so it has great applications for people out there with massive infrastructure and machines to take a virtual model of what's physically in your plant and test your changes and test your upgrades before interfering with what you're doing with your operation to see if there was a mistake, because you're not using AI yet or the human error in it. So it reduces risk and gives you an environment to do that. For us, supplying to customers that we take on projects and you sign these contracts, this has to be ready in 36 weeks. We are designing and automating that. We do a release, it goes into procurement, and we're cutting metal and getting parts. And then we have to put all the labor on our shop floor to build up these massive systems and then power them on an IO check, and then we get to start programming. And what's been fantastic for us with digital twin, or machine expert twin in this case, is as soon as our design's done and we're letting all the other fun happen with procurement, supply chain, and manufacturing and getting it built, our programmers are already taking those models and running the machine and writing the program and seeing what works best and getting a lot of the checks and challenges out of the way before we ever physically have it and power it on. So it doesn't so much say, oh, it cut all that labor out. What it did is it moved it into an area where we were sitting idle for that process and allows us to start working on it. And in some cases allows us to solve things before we ever even assemble it. So it's reducing our waste and our redo and time, because you're trying to hit product launches, you're trying to hit installation windows. So that's been a very, very good one for us to utilize digital twin for our sake. End game for end users is then let it follow into your plant and do all those things once it's your equipment and you're trying to upgrade and you're trying to maintain and you want to push changes out to protect you in your operation, to not figure it out when you turn it on and realize that someone put a comma in the wrong place and you found out because it crashed or got very upset with it. Our next phase, again, is still trying to then, how can we get into this AI is the partner to help us write it and solve it. And we're looking forward to that when that day comes available to us.
Thank you. I think my mic, it's back. What I noticed, Sreedhar, in your example, Daniel, and I can only imagine Balaji going there, is there's a lot of conversation about data and how to structure data to be able to do digital twins, AI, models on top of it. And we believe very much on the open automation and software-defined automation. Sreedhar, and then in the third question that I will make to you, then you can elaborate as well, Balaji. Why is it so important to have an open automation and talk about open standards for the future of automation?
Yeah. It's interesting. I had this impromptu discussion with someone when I was having lunch this afternoon, who was saying that, there are like so many of these equipment vendors, they all have their own standards, it works very well. And he said, there should be something like, a universal, thing, etc. I said, you just read my mind, you should, there is something called universalautomation.org, that's promoting this one. But this is not a story that I'm making up, this really happened. So there is really a strong need to have open standards to be able to exchange information, because all the AI that we talk about can only work if there is data that comes in. And if every data that we have, every data source is siloed, difficult to translate. I mean, it could be unit of measures, it could be timestamps, all the things that make it impossible to generate any kind of insights from that. So it's absolutely imperative to have this standard. Now, this is going to impact business models. This is going to impact how people, sell things. But I think it's a welcome change. I mean, I think, like we are evolving. It is important to have standards. It's important to have the open automation, which lays the foundation of data that is essential for the automation of the future.
Thank you, Sreedhar. When you talk about many devices out there, and there's a lot of different standards, and it's kind of also overwhelming, right, the challenge. And we don't believe that one company can solve it all. So it takes a lot of collaboration and working together between end users, technology providers, manufacturers, so we can, really get competitive in the US and tackle this challenge of, creating an industrial renaissance, because it means that we need to create a lot of manufacturing process that maybe exists elsewhere. So you can't just do it the way we were doing before, otherwise it's doubling the cost, and that will not stand in its own, right? So it requires a significant gain of productivity. And I think that can be achieved if we collaborate as an industry, no matter if between competitors, between technology providers and customers. And I know that Microsoft, you start talking about partnership, and you guys, for sure, you are the forefront of technology, but also you kind of like to work with an ecosystem of partners. I think you believe as well that you can't solve it alone, right? So what do you think?
Absolutely, Andrea. I mean, who would have thought Microsoft would have a presence at Automate, which is hardcore industrial manufacturing, because of our partners who use our technology now in the shop floor. There's a saying that goes, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, I can't believe that if you want to go fast, go alone, that could be, people are still going slow there. But I can vouch for the fact that if you want to go far, go together. And one example I would highlight, which is real, is Microsoft and Schneider, where we are working very closely together with Trust, where we use Schneider's core technology of EcoStruxure automation, where we apply a layer of Microsoft technology on top of it. Both the AI, the search, the non-AI parts of Microsoft stack. And what it helps is, eventually it has to help the end user. In this case, the customers, process engineers, who are sort of getting the control sequence diagrams. So how can technology help that? Is it even real? It is very real. Schneider has a product. The way it works is, the technology, the Copilot that we have developed with Schneider, can get the user requirement, can access all the relevant libraries, and it can do both retrieval, which is Q&A. It can act as an expert to the engineer, reducing the time to find an answer, thereby improving their productivity. But most importantly, it can give a fairly accurate control sequence diagram out. And this is much, much faster. Now, what that means is the job of the engineer becomes a bit more exciting. Yeah? They don't have to repeat the same steps again and again for every new project. So you're taking out the mundane aspects of the job and you're replacing with technology. You are giving more time to the engineer to do more work and innovate more. So this will lead eventually to innovation on the shop floor for the customers. And this is one example, and I'm sure neither Schneider nor Microsoft would have been able to do it by ourselves. We had to collaborate, and that's how we have done it.
Yep. And Sreedhar, I'm going to ask this question for you because I know you guys have like more than 500 people developing AI models, either for our own offers or for our customers, right?
Yep.
And still, you go to Microsoft to collaborate, to create new things. So how was the experience of now using technology, collaborating with Microsoft, understanding what the customer wants? So how that process works inside a company like Schneider? I just want to say it's a 160,000 people company, right? We have, just in the US, 22 manufacturing sites and almost 200 sites around the globe. So we have our own challenge, unique challenge inside the company. And I just want to hear from you how you solve that together with Microsoft.
Yeah. So first of all, it's not easy, and it takes a lot of effort. But I think with partners, the single most important thing is that we have a clear understanding and strong built-in trust that was developed over a period of time that, Microsoft brings in this strong, background of latest digital technologies that can be applied. And Schneider brings the domain expertise, the industrial, domain expertise that we know that when it is combined, that is where the good things to customers happen. And also, it is important to have specific plans, the things that we work on that we are not all over, because we have to be deliverable focused. So one of the things that, you said we have about 500 people working on AI throughout the company, but there is a clear mission that we want to deliver specific use cases. We want to put things into production so that we can test it with customers, we can get the validation, and that is where the technology providers partner with us. We identify the things that we have worked on, just like the Copilot that we worked on, where we knew clearly that this is where we can make a difference. Microsoft has the Copilot technology, we know the industrial domain, and when we combine with them, we can solve this really unique one which nobody else in the market has. So I think it's finding the right opportunity and having the right amount of trust and having a focus in execution are the main pillars for this.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's we often get asked about this question, which is how we scale things, right? There's a statistic out there that 70% are still in the pilot purgatory, so they try technology and they can't scale. I think what you both mentioned is you need to have intention, you need to understand what your problem you're trying to solve for first, then get the technology, collaborate, and then put the right people, right, understanding what and how to replicate things across the enterprise. So very important pieces. Now, I'm looking to Daniel because you're seeing two technology providers here, although, like I said, we are a big manufacturer in it as well, right? So we kind of, we use our own technology. But I'm interested in your opinion, how do you see us collaborating and why is it important that kind of collaboration and how you put yourself in the middle of the collaboration to ultimately drive good outcomes and benefits to your customer?
Yeah, thank you. I think a few things were mentioned that I'm trying to remember here. You spoke of scale. Scale is a very fun thing, and I think it's whoever's holding the microphone says it's worse for them, because you can work at corporations with 8,000 people in a home office and tens of thousands of people worldwide, and it's really hard to scale and change, implement change and handle it. And man, those little guys with 65 people in one factory, how easy it is when you're in control of everything and do it yourself. And then us little guys sit here and say, oh, you have unlimited resources. And I have the one person who has the full-time job, but is also trying to take on that piece of it. And for both sides, it's only going to happen and it's only going to occur correctly if you have the collaboration. So it's great to have industry leaders up on a panel talking about, hey, here's what we do. But I can look out in the room if I'm not completely blinded and name off people that from my side and at least Schneider's side and maybe Microsoft's side soon, that collaborate every day at their level, at the engineer level. It's the Christines and Daves and Matts that work with my Eli's and Michael's and John's. And it provides that necessary feedback loop so that as they're tackling it upstream, they're getting real data and real problems that we're trying to solve because we're always connected. So that collaboration, across and from the top down, it's really when it's that full circle collaboration that will get it right, and it'll ease that pain because it was mentioned that it is pain, and I'm pretty sure every company right now is in the throes of their digital transformation, and it just keeps going and it keeps going, and it's very difficult if it misses and you have to take a step back and try again. So the collaboration really is probably that glue that keeps it moving in the right way, and it takes from all sides and all angles to make sure that we're doing it together.
Very good. Balaji, you want to compliment? Sure, feel free.
You proudly said Schneider is a manufacturer. I don't want to come across not acknowledging the Microsoft's manufacturing landscape.
That's true as well.
My organization also does manufacture devices, double-digit billions of dollars in device sales. We also manufacture. We also use builders, and it's just fascinating. Like when I speak about Microsoft, I mean, I just forget that the core operations and supply chain of devices is a pretty large business. And we end up using a lot of your technologies as well in our plans. And we are also working very hard to innovate. In fact, Microsoft Supply Chain got an Innovation Award for applying these technologies to innovate in decision making as well. So proud to be a manufacturer as well.
That's it. Maybe Daniel can supply you some machines maybe at the end of the show.
Offline conversation.
So we are coming to the end of our session, but we still have time for Q&A. So I'm opening for the audience. If you want to ask any question, feel free. We still have some minutes.
So you stated emulation, or the lack of emulation, just digital twin. Do you see emulation coming in your roadmap soon?
Is that for me?
I think if it's for
Yes,
us.
to
Yes,
Schneider.
I think the digital twin is well established, like you said, when you know already, right? And you're just replicating something already established. But we do have simulation and emulation before, so we can model even upfront before even doing the real physical asset, just as a way to innovate. And we have a suite of softwares with Aviva that are exactly on the engineering side of this equation, and we can cover that in our booth here at Automate. It will be a pleasure to show you that.
Between the models, does Microsoft offer AI agents that facilitate that growth or that full autonomy between each of the three running models?
So physics-based simulations and emulations are one of the most interesting real trends that I'm seeing in my customers and what we offer, both from Microsoft as well as from our partners. So that's real. The ability to add AI agents on top of the underlying solution, very much a reality. Again, we have use cases of customers using it as we speak today.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else? I can see with the...
Hello, my name is Lucy Buck. I'm a member of the Global Supply Chain Organization at Schneider Electric. My question is, you've all mentioned the importance of digital transformation and adopting AI, and you mentioned how essential data is to this journey. My question for the group is, what advice do you have to ensure better data accuracy in this journey to better and more quickly adopt AI solutions?
I can.
You want to take that?
Okay, I can start.
Yeah.
For me, just one thing, like a lot of conversations I have, the obstacle of data comes as such a large bottleneck because they are seeing data as a problem, keeping it here. Trust that the data challenge can be resolved. there are enough expertise and tools available for any organization to overcome the data needs to get proper solutions out. And as long as our customers are starting to keep data as a problem this far away, they will be able to start. So for me, starting with the trust that it can be resolved is the most important step for data readiness in any transformation. Personal opinion.
Maybe I'll add to that specifically on the data accuracy side. So when you are someone who is using data to make predictions or building something, you really know the pain when there is inaccurate data, missing data, etc. So there is not a universal solution, to do that. But I think what is important is to acknowledge that the data is what drives the insights and then the actions that can be taken. So you kind of put that in your focus. And secondly, there are also technical solutions available. So we see cities where there is time series data coming in, there are missing values, how to impute missing values in that form, or there are some abnormal values. Suddenly temperature goes like 20 degrees high, which we know is wrong. There could be a sensor fault. So there are several techniques that are available to improve the accuracy of them that also need to be considered in building it. But I mean, accuracy is at the foundation of whatever we can do.
If I can only add a point, because when you try to be accurate everywhere, it's super hard, right? So be intentional on what is the problem you're trying to solve for will help you to be accurate where it matters, correct? So first, you need kind of strategize what you want to do, then you digitize, and then you optimize. If you start to digitize without strategizing first, you're probably digitizing a lot of things that you end up having no end to the equation you're trying to solve for. And then you spend a lot of money, and then accuracy costs money, right? Because it's a combination of where you want to be accurate and how much money you have to be accurate, right? So it's super important to have a mission and be thoughtful about what do I really want to solve for, and then you start from there, and there's a data layer that's open automation standards that help you to harmonize the data, then you run the models on top of it. If you go without following a proper process, you end up in the pilot purgatory, right? That can never scale. So I think this is a super important question. Thanks for that.
I want to expand on what Andre said, just from my point of view, because that's the fun thing. There's a ton of data, especially for machine operating, and he spoke to a pitfall that people can fall in, because it's like, oh, I want all of the data for what happened here, and because of experience, sometimes you get trapped into like you're out just fixing symptoms because that was the data easy for you to get and you understood what happened there. So it's really closing that gap to step back to that higher view of what really was the problem, and not just getting the data immediately available to think I'm making a real-time decision and it's great, and you just keep making that real-time decision over and over because you're not really backing up to see what should we have looked at and what should we have based our decision off of. And I think the movement and the progress that we're all aiming for is to get it faster, get the right data in front of the right person to make the right decision, hopefully the first time. And I think that's what collectively everyone's trying to solve, because you can just bury someone in numbers and data and solve things all day long and arrive at the end and you spend a ton of money and resources in a really cool way, but you didn't solve what you needed to solve. So it's a good question, and it's a warning to when you're stepping into it for the first time or been doing it forever, to step back out of that chaos and make sure you're looking at the right things.
Thank you. I think we have time for a last question.
Hey guys, I'm Jose with Industrial AI. We build AI to automate factory workflows. My question is, you guys were talking about use cases of generative AI around copilots for PLC programming and controls work. Have you guys explored use cases of AI in a more operational capacity, supporting and augmenting frontline workers, technicians, engineers that are out in the shop? Would love to learn about what you guys have explored in that area.
Yeah, so yeah, I can take it and you can add. So absolutely.
I'm getting excited.
I mean, this is the super exciting area, right? Because frontline work is where a lot of decisions have to be made in real time, and it's expensive to send people there. So one of the the rising use cases is knowledge management and making knowledge available for the frontline workers. So first thing is, of course, you can have all the user manuals that are available that you can ask specific questions. You can get very specific answers to the problems that are there. So that's like the first step. Then you get into multimodality of AI, where it's no longer just about me asking a question. I can show you a picture, and then it can detect something, or we can even talk to that. These are some of the use cases we have actually piloted and are looking into. And the last point I would add before turning it to Balaji is, sometimes this is not even like a nice to have. It's actually essential in some operating conditions where it is, maybe hazardous conditions where you have to act immediately, or places where the accessibility is very limited and very expensive to get back. So absolutely, this is a fantastic area of application of AI.
Balaji?
I mean, we are seeing it across multiple areas. I'll say 3 of them. One is, imagine a factory which has 30, 40 languages spoken. Generative AI is an exceptional way to create collaboration real time. Second is, imagine there is a ton of data that comes from a machine, and somebody has to run an anomaly detection model on top of it. Now, option 1 is to stop at the model, but option 2 is to automate a workflow. That is, again, possible by the autonomous aspect of generative AI. The third is, I used to be a quality guy, walking half a mile up and down a plant to do stuff. And I'm like, hey, instead of me walking quarter a mile, can somebody tell me what the problem is? Can somebody give me possible hypotheses so that I can come solve a problem rather than just walk up and down to figure out? And that is being put in real life use with maintenance, not just in plant. Like if you want remote maintenance support, generative AI is a classic use case where people are using it on the field. So there are a wide variety of use cases. Old AI, Gen AI combination, there is definitely enough and more real life use cases to do more with less.
Well, I want to, thanks for the question first, and I want to thank you all for coming. I think we discussed important points to innovate and dominate the market, right? Which is about the workforce, right? How to make sure that we deal with this problem and some good practices around it. Then we discuss about technology, how to apply technology and innovate with technology, but also understanding that this requires collaboration. This requires to be more open, right? And communicate across the value chain, from technology providers, from manufacturers to the end users. And then just a great set of questions from the panelists. So thanks a lot for coming. Thanks for Balaji, Daniel, Sreedhar joining this panel. You're all invited to take a schmooze in our booth as well, and we can continue the conversation. Thank you.